RMJ Movie Reviews back again. Um, I think you guys can see behind me the sun is risen, and it's my review of Halloween 3: Season of the Witch from I believe 1982. Um, the creators, John Carpenter, Debra Hill, and with help by Tommy Lee Wallace and the rest of the crew, decided that they wanted to leave the Michael Myers storyline and go into an anthology type of storyline. So they came up with this. Actually, I'm sorry. This is the one that I like, guys. This is the one that I remember seeing at the video store when I was a kid. I love it. I love this artwork. This is the real one. But anyway, Tommy Lee Wallace, who was originally supposed to direct the Halloween 2, stepped in to direct this film. And what you've got here is a very I saw Halloween 3 back in the 80s. I had actually, when I saw Halloween 3, it was actually way before. There were only 3 Halloween movies when I saw Halloween 3. I remember my older brother had rented it from the video store. I believe this was probably 86, I believe, or 85. But this is way before Return of Michael Myers had come out. And I remember tripping out on this movie when I was a kid. I didn't even know it was Halloween 3. But the movie was just bonkers. It just really tripped me out as a kid. And it's this really strange tale of Halloween masks that, when activated by a television commercial, basically murder children or anybody who is watching this program, because there's a little shamrock that activates some Celtic type of power that makes the head explode, and bugs and maggots and snakes and spiders and all sorts of really icky things come out of their head. And Tom Atkins, who's a drunk alcoholic doctor, has to get to the bottom of why this is happening. It's a nutty crazy movie. I don't think. And let me first off say, I've always liked this film. So when I see, I can understand. Look, I was only probably 2 when this film was released theatrically, so I didn't see this in theaters. So I wasn't a person who got to have the disappointment of being like, what the heck is this? It's called Halloween 3. And I think that's their biggest mistake, is that it's called Halloween 3. Like Dean Cundy said, and Tommy Lee Wallace and a couple of other people in retrospective interviews, it should have just been called Season of the Witch, period. It should have just been Season of the Witch, this really odd horror film, and it shouldn't have been called Halloween 3. Halloween 3 was just the biggest mistake. Because there is no Michael Myers. Like I said, this is just its own little contained story. It's an odd little black sheep in the franchise. But nevertheless, I do think it's a creepy, gory, nutty horror story, and I think it does hold its place as a very well done horror film from the early '80s. And it has all the aesthetics of the day of a horror film from 1982, namely in-camera special effects, meaning practical gore. There's a lot of kind of matte painting shots in here. That's the only thing that takes away when you have these crisp DVDs like this, is it takes away from some of the magic with all this. That's why sometimes and I believe the gentleman, I like his channel. I think Drum Dums is his name. A really good channel. But I'm about like him. I believe I saw one of his videos where he had mentioned something about how he likes to kind of still watch VHS tapes. And well, you guys who know me, I'm very much like that. I believe VHS tapes, although the quality is bad, they don't destroy the magic. And I think Blu-ray and DVD kind of, you can really see. Anyway, you can tell that there's makeup effects, but when you watch those old dirty VHS tapes from back in the day, it really preserves a lot of the magic of in-camera special effects and things like that. But it's just a nutty movie. There's a lot of things in the story that are just like Tom Atkins is a doctor. I'm not sure what kind of doctor he is, but we know he's a drunk. I mean, he's at the bar. He's carrying 6-packs in the car. It's hysterical how much of a drunk this guy is. fully functioning alcoholic, because if he was this much of a drunk, I would not want him operating on me or doing or any kind of diagnosis as a doctor. Um, and he's got a family. I think he's separated from his wife, but he still drops by the house. And but he just takes off with this young chick whose father was brutally. And it's like that's a shocking scene in the hospital where these Michael Myers esque henchmen who work for Cochran. Cochran is the gentleman from RoboCop. Behave yourselves. He's the old man from RoboCop 1 and 2. He's the ringleader of these these Michael Myers-esque henchmen. They behave like Michael Myers. They just silent and stalk people, but they basically crush people's faces in, rip people's heads off, stick power drills into people's skulls, and really nice things like that. And it's a brutal scene. I remember being shocked. I still think it's pretty shocking. Only thing is, like I said, with the DVD, you can tell it's a rubber head now. And this movie has a series of really gruesome kills. And even for 1982, I even still think by today's standards, it's shocking. But, you know, it loses its punch, namely at the fact that we've got these pristine DVDs to tell that they're rubber effects. But you could just appreciate the lengths that they went to really create these gory, garlish effects, and I think this movie just really gets a lot of points for the kills, and it really does have a very creepy, what the hell is going on type of vibe to it, because as you're seeing all these gruesome kills, you know you're like everybody else, like what is going on? And then when you meet Cochran, the old man from RoboCop, you know he's very kind of strange. And, hello, how old are you? And he's so weird, and he kind of has like this kind of look in his eye where he's being friendly, but you're kind of like, I don't know about this dude, you know. And he just comes in and he goes like, hello family, hello kids, you're gonna get free mass all on me. You know, you're like, this dude is crazy. You know, and a great performance. And Tom Atkins, I think it really helped in this situation that you got an older man as the lead, and he just looks like a regular guy, and I think that really lends itself more to the believability of the situation. Now, him and this young chick hooking up, I think that's the part of the story that I don't quite believe. I just don't believe she would hook up with him. I don't, but, you know, I suppose that's the part of the movie that's probably male fantasy dominated, probably from the creators and the writers, because that's every older guy's fantasy, is to hook up with some young chick. But it's a really creepy, unsettling, creatively done horror picture. And I like, too, that it very much stays true to, like, Halloween 1, even though it has nothing to do with that storyline. It leaves it open-ended. You know, it leaves, like, a question mark ending that John Carpenter talked about. And also the cinematography. I believe Dean Cundey did the cinematography again on here, too. Cinematography, again, you're taking advantage of the wide cinematic scope. It's very well shot. John Carpenter does the music again. I really love the synth score. The synth score is really kind of creepy sounding, and it really it does move at a leisurely pace. It's not slow at all, because there's enough gruesome kills to keep people who just don't have enough patience interested. But it does move along at a Twilight Zone-esque pace. And I really like that. I just like the fact that it's so strange. You're constantly wondering what the hell is going on. When you're seeing these henchmen, one of them played by Dick Warlock, Michael Myers from Halloween 2, you know, and they're ripping people's heads off, and the blood is spurting everywhere. And you're like, what is going on? And you kind of find out later on in the picture, spoilers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you find out that they're actually androids created by Cochran. And they're not actually human beings, they're androids. And it lends to the kookiness. It's just a nutty, insane movie. I'd probably say my favorite scene, hands down, in the entire movie is probably this family. Cochran wants to show the ultimate result of his master scheme, and this kid's head basically falls apart and turns into snakes and bugs, and the mother is like basically it's a weird scene the way it's played, because the mother is like laughing, but it's not like she's really laughing. It's kind of like she's kind of going crazy, or she's high or whatever, and she just kind of goes from laughing to hysteria because her kid's head just split open and fell apart. She passes out, and the father's reaction is perfect, pitch perfect. He and then that's probably hands down my favorite scene in the entire movie. It's just a really good, creepy, unsettling scene. Very well done, and it's icky too. But ultimately, the scheme of this movie, and I've seen this movie many years, and I never actually for once paid attention to Cochran's ultimate scheme, but really, Halloween 6, the producer's cut, really, that movie takes a lot from what Cochran's ultimate scheme is in this movie, which is witchcraft, from this Stonehenge that has power, literal, like physical power, and I guess when the planets are aligned, they have to have sacrifices to keep balance to the universe, and that's the same thing as Dr. Wynn's scheme in Halloween 6, producer's cut. So, that's ultimately what his scheme is. It's a witchcraft, Celtic, Samhain type of scheme. Sam Loomis talked about that, I believe, in Halloween 2. We're burned alive in baskets. It's the unconscious mind. You know, it's a lot to do with that kind of stuff, too. And I don't know if that's John Carpenter's writing or Tommy Lee Wallace's or whoever's, but it really brings in a lot of the mythos of Halloween and stuff like that. So, it's just a nutty, crazy movie with some really, I use the word gnarly special effects, practical, ghoulish, old school in-camera special effects, well shot. The performances are really kind of playing to the material, so they're hammy, but they're kind of off and kind of off kilter. It's actually a very well done horror picture. I think people who dislike it's the same thing like Friday the 13th Part 5. It's purely only disliked for the fact that it's not a Michael Myers story. You know, like Friday 5 is hated just because Jason is actually not the killer. Same thing here. It's just because it's not a Michael Myers story is why it's hated. But I think it's a very well done horror picture, and I think Tommy Lee Wallace did a really good job directing it. All around, it's a fantastic horror picture. So for me, if there's anybody who's just a fan of creepy, weird horror, I definitely recommend Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. But anyway, that's my review of Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. I'm coming up with my last two reviews of Halloween 2 and the original 1978 Halloween. And then we got the big boy coming out for you people. Halloween 2018. I'll see you soon.